Oh, hello. Oh, there we go. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. We got a special one for you guys here today. We're on the Touching You Talk Show. Big shout out to Eldris Sheila Black. You know, we really appreciate you for giving this opportunity for us to just hop on here and share a little insight from us. This here is a group of my brothers, really close brothers here. They make up pretty much a firm uh really big part of my solid foundation that I have. These are brothers of my flock, and I love them. They love me, and we in times, we've all been there and talked through it, whatever situation that we're going to talk through here today. So with that being said, we're just going to move into introducing the brothers here. First up, we have DeAndre Morris. We've got Denzel Tucker, and we got Jordan Foster. I'm gonna allow you guys a second to hop off. I'll just name you off and just give them a brief introduction of who you are, how old you are, and what you do right now. And I guess be politically correct, I guess I should probably introduce myself first. How's it going, everybody? Again, my name is Calvin Henson. I'm 30 years old, and I'm a project manager for a smart home automations company. Been working there for about close to 3 years now. And I am a firm believer in Jesus Christ and my Lord and Savior. And again, super happy to co-host here tonight. So I'll just go and pass it over to DeAndre.
Hey everyone, my name is DeAndre Morris. I'm 30 years old. I work for CDW at the moment. I've been there for about 2 years, and right now I'm doing cybersecurity. And I'm from Houston, Texas. And I'm happy to be a part of the show.
Thank you, sir. All right, brother Denzel.
Oh, sorry, I was stuck on mute. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Blessed to be here. Denzel Tucker. Background is in consulting. I think everyone said their age. I'm 29, so everyone's about the same age. Background in consulting, currently in insurance sales. I've been doing it actually since the start of the year. I did actually a career shift. I'm sure we'll probably get into changes and all that, but kind of like what Calvin and DeAndre said. Blessed to be here, and Jesus Christ is a leader of my faith, and that's where I stand on. So just happy to be here.
Thank you, brother. All right, brother Jordan.
What's going on? I'm Jordan Foster. I just turned 30, newly 30-year-old, born and raised Christian from Dallas, Texas. I work in the broadcast field, kind of, sort of. I just kind of transitioned in between broadcast and hosting work, more independent hosting work now. But again, I'm excited to be here. I know Calvin has been doing some great stuff with this podcast and this podcast in general, telling some amazing stories and perspectives. So excited to answer and add my 2 cents whenever asked and needed.
Indeed. So thank you all for introducing yourselves and sharing a little bit of your background. Just so you all know, these guys here, we're all Prairie View A&M alumni. That's actually where I met every single one of these brothers, and we've been tight ever since. Again, true brothers of my flock, man. We are growing and learning in this journey of becoming man and in aiming to be towards the kingdom of God. So here, just pretty briefly, we did have a shared loss. A brother transitioned, one of our PV Panthers. So I just want to give a brief 7 seconds of silence for that. So we'll just go ahead and start that now. All right, so that was our 7 seconds for our brother Desmond Chief. Want to keep his name alive. He was a very influential brother out there in the Prairie View area, or Houston alone. And so now let's get to the nitty gritty here. So again, our title here today is The Balance of Faith, Career, and Relationships. And so us brothers, we're just going to touch on a few things here. We're all in pretty similar places in life, but also different places at the same time. So super excited for the different levels of feedback that we're going to get tonight on some of these questions. So first question here, and we don't have a particular order. Please feel free to kind of jump on whenever you can. So just going to present this first question here. So what is your relationship with God, and how long have you been on your journey towards his kingdom? And I guess just to be politically correct again, I'll go ahead and go first. Of course, again, my father is a pastor, Bishop Henson. I've been in church all of my life. Really never had a time where I wasn't in church. But I think there was a transition moment in my life where I began to start my journey with true intentions for myself and as a man. And I would say I think maybe about 5 years in the game now, where I'm really just being intentional about my faith and my journey to the kingdom of God. So now I'll just pass it to another brother to answer that question. And again, the question was, what is your relationship with God, and how long have you been on your journey to the kingdom of God?
For me personally, I think, born and raised Christian, I think it's always been a journey. You know what I'm saying? From birth right to this point. I think more recently for me, my relationship with God is kind of under construction, right? I think like many of I don't mean that in a joking way, but it's one of those things where you are raised as a child, right? To follow one way, and hey, this is Christianity, right? And this is why we believe, this is what we believe in. But I think you get to a point in your adulthood where it's like, do I want to be a part of this because it's what I know, or it's because it's what I want to know? And I think that has kind of been where I have been the last few years, is just, not saying I'm a Christian because my family is a Christian, because my grandma is saying a Christian, because it's something that I truly believe in myself, right? It's something that I'm going after. And I think, with the world, right, and the many different desires and many different things, distractions, I guess, right? I think it's been a constant battle of trying to continue to cloud, a lot of that out, but also trying to, get closer to him. But I always tell people, at least my relationship with God is where I know it's not the best 100%, where, me and him are just close. I'm not going to act like me and Jesus is, that I'm you're right, that I'm in my Bible every day, that I'm talking with him every day, but I, pray every night, right? Pray every day, and I have conversations, with God, with Jesus, just like I'm talking to you all, right? And just having real, real honest and open questions. And one thing I am proud to say is that when it comes to my progression with God, one thing I tried to get away from is, I noticed that I used to only talk with him or call on him when I needed him. But now I make sure to make a point to just check in with him and let him know, right, on a random Tuesday, hey, I'm thankful for life. I'm thankful for health. I'm thankful for strength, right? And to do a better job of thanking and being appreciative of what we have, and not just running to him, right, when we need something or need him to help us through something, right? And so I think so far we're doing good. We're doing good. We ain't perfect, but we are in the right direction, one day at a time. And I'm just so thankful and so blessed with everything that he has given up to this point. So I'm just trying to honor, now my commitment, my side of the bargain.
That's good, brother. Just to kind of piggyback on it, man. Like, just if you don't mind, I know you gave a good spiel, Jordan, but just like commitment, right? When you said it, that word kind of, even though you just said it, that's like a real big signal word, in your relationship with faith. You got to be committed, or there is a moment where you do check your commitment, and I know that, man, I can just remember my days out in Houston where I felt like everything was going in my favor. I felt like I was doing I knew I wasn't doing all the right things, but, I did feel like I was blessed, to be in the situation that I was in. But then there was a humbling moment, right, to where I had to really get, snatched back, and I needed to sit down and learn and understand that, blessings don't just come to you, or they do, because God is good. God just, it's not because of you, but where that commitment comes is you have to put in that effort, and that's where it really truly does become intentional. And that's one of the phases that I'm in my life right now. Any other brothers want to jump in with that?
Sorry, Calvin. I've been having technical difficulties, so I didn't hear the question. If you can please go over it for me.
Yeah, I got you. Hopefully you good. All right. So the question was, what is your relationship with God, and how long have you been on your journey?
I've been on my journey for a while. I think mine started truthfully as far as me transitioning from being a kid into a grown adult. Somewhere like at the beginning of college. I
Mm.
remember a situation where I didn't have the funds, I didn't know where to go. I just kept my faith strong. And I'm at Prairie View. I ended up going to the chapel and ended up learning into the right hands, and he gave me a full-time ride scholarship.
Oh,
Um, he did, and to attest to that, right now where I'm at in my journey, I just got baptized Saturday.
hey,
Yeah,
hand clap
cleanse
it up,
myself.
clap it up, clap it up.
Congrats. I had to hurry up and get off mute.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Listen, yeah.
It felt good. It felt good to start from a clean slate. I'm not the guy who I used to be. I know I made mistakes in the past, but my faith is very strong.
Yeah,
And I make sure I'm moving in the right direction. I make sure whatever God gives me, whatever His purpose is for me, I try to make sure that I aim towards that. On a daily basis. One thing I start doing is I see a lot of older people, navigate towards me.
mm,
And so what I do is I make sure that I give them conversation, even if I have something to do. Obviously that person is there for a reason. That person is there for a reason, and they just need a conversation. And sometimes people have bad days. I've been there before myself. But that's what I make sure I do. I make sure that I still communicate with them regardless of what I have going on, because obviously God intertwined us that day.
that's actually really cool, man. Like that you take out the time to do that because you see that as important as well. Like you said, even if I have a busy day, this whatever this interaction is or this weird random occurrence is, you think that is something that is important still. It
Yes,
sounds like
sir.
and everything put together is for the goodness of God. That's what it sounds like to me.
And I mean, and of course, I'm in a relationship too. So God has to be the foundation of my relationship. How can I be a great leader if he's not the foundation of my relationship? So me and my lady, we always pray at night. I pray for her family, my friends, and also everyone that's is not fortunate as well.
Hey,
Just yeah.
hold on, you gotta hold that relationship going. We're gonna get into that. You gotta hold that.
Okay. Let
Oh,
me let me let y'all talk. I'm sorry.
no, but you did also talk about purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you said that whatever God's purpose is, you want to make sure that you're driving towards that. In my current place in life right now, I have ideas of what I think God's purpose is for me, but I can't say that I have a firm understanding or that I'm 100% sure that I know this is exactly what or why God placed me here. Do you feel like that you kind of got your sign or your direction, or do you kind of still feel like that as well?
I think we all serve many different purposes. It's not just geared towards one. I think we serve many. Do I know a lot of my other purposes in life? I probably don't know every last one of them, but I feel like some of them do. He does distill in my head, and on more than one occasion, those same situations seem to happen. So therefore, maybe this is not just a big coincidence. Maybe this is just meant to happen. Maybe
Mm,
this is a purpose right here. Maybe this is something that I should be doing on a daily, instead of doing the complete opposite.
yeah.
And so that's what I feel about purposes. I just feel like it's just not one purpose. It's not one purpose. It's many different purposes. It's many. It's just many.
You hit on something, brother. What about you, brother Denzel? I'll just repeat the question for you. I know we've been.
No, I got the question. Look, I had enough questions. So we ain't
sorry,
got to
sorry,
like
sorry.
it's hard. I'll say this: it's hard to follow up some of these responses, but I will say that's kind of stuck out is, and it's something I was notating was if you could see God in everything, life starts to make sense. You asked a question. Well, I was raised in church ever since a kid. As a matter of fact, I'm just now on the journey of getting back into church. I was out of church for a while because growing up in my old home church, I grew up, everyone has their different experiences. I grew up with church hurt, right? And I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but some churches, they go through, recycling pastors or people messing with the congregation or people stealing money. All those different scenarios have occurred in my Christian life. And so I took my eyes off of God and looked at man and blamed the people that God sent, because we're all human. I blamed the people that God sent and was just like, you know what? I'll be one of those Christians like, I'll pray, but I'm not going to fellowship, or I'm not going to be a disciple. I'm just going to, kind of like what Jordan was saying, like when I need something, I got you. You know what I mean? And so, and I don't know about for him, but for me, I was using him like a cosmic concierge, if you will. So I would actually say, well, you asked about my journey. I've been on this journey from actually last summer of rededicating my life back to Christ. It's been a very impactful journey. The lifestyle I was living before, it was carefree, man. I didn't really have no stressors outside of paying bills, of course. But since I turned my life and tried to get it right with Christ, I lost everything: job, cars, you know what I mean? And one thing that's kept me rooted, outside of my Rooted and Grounded book, which is what we speak about that later, is something that my church is doing. It's a life group, was one, establishing new habits. And John 16:33, where it says, I have told you this. So I'm paraphrasing because, I don't read like that either. But it basically says, I have told you this so you'll know that you will go through trials and tribulations, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. And so when you put those scriptures into perspective and you start to meditate on them, or you start to process what that really means, if you say what you believe, or if you believe what you say, vice versa, it starts to digest, and you like, man, I know I had to get to a point where I knew that I wasn't enough in my own strength, because if what I had was good enough, it would, we're all about 30 years old. Yeah. You would start to see the fruits of your labor. And I don't know about for you guys, I'm sure you guys are way more successful than I am. but for me, it just felt like a constant battle, a constant struggle.
Yeah.
And sometimes we live our life out 3 months in advance, like, man, I want to get here. But I had to learn in this time of dealing with Christ to acknowledge him daily, kind of like what some of you all were saying. I did just come out of a fast, kind of like what Dre was sharing. I'm actually planning to get baptized this month. So that's another yeah, man. Yeah. So I mean, he's been really working on me to get outside my comfort zone and think beyond myself. And so one of the habits I've actually established was what I call seek and serve. So whenever I'm feeling like, man, I don't have, like you said, I don't have a sense of direction, or I'm feeling down about my day, I seek God, right? I'll pray or whatever, listen to a sermon, but I'll serve. So I'll call a relative that I haven't talked to, or someone outside my friend group, you know what I mean? Or someone, I have a mother of our church, of our life group, that I'll go visit, you know what I mean? Like, because God noticed that God will bless you when you serve, when you're specifically trying to do his work, he will bless you. And it may not be tangibly, it may not be, what you may think it is, but it may be what you need. You know what I mean? And usually it's been in the form of peace. So I didn't share earlier, but part of the reason why I switched careers is because I lost my job. And so I had to look at God and be like, okay, so what next?
Yeah.
I didn't know where I was going next. You know what I mean? So he's been, I can't even put it into words, man. It's just been a true blessing, even through the hardships, to know that you're covered. So I know I made a short story long, but when the Holy Spirit is on you and you're connected with people, like-minded people, you can talk about God and just what he's doing for you. Seems like for forever. So
yeah, straight up, man. Hey, I agree with you, brother. But you did just touch on something that I had this question that I knew I was gonna throw out to one of y'all. But Denzel, I think you kind of touched on it, and I know that we have similar situations because you and I were actually colleagues for a second. We worked at the same company. It was both good, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we was holding down. Yeah.
We was doing the big, man. We was
yeah.
This was the days.
Yes, those were the days. Oh man.
But like you said, when that season came where he took it and we felt like we lost everything.
Everything.
We had to kind of start maturing in our mind. Did you? And I ask this because I did indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free.
Have you ever had a moment where you felt like you were failing God?
You know what? During this portion, in the very beginning, before my eyes really opened, I would say yes. And believe it, and I'll be full transparency because that's the only reason why I'm here. If I wasn't going to be transparent, I promise you I wouldn't have even joined. But back when I experienced a different type of pain that was kind of like a trench in my family's dynamic that really shifted a lot of things where I turned my back on God. So I really wasn't praying. I was like 13, 14. And I still say at 29 going on 30, like I had already learned, like, that's obviously not the way. You know what I mean? And then I'm in this situation because of decisions I've made, not because I just acknowledged God first and just yielded, right? So yeah, of course, I definitely felt like I was failing because I'm like, man, all this time my life has looked like this strictly because of me. But for your grace and your mercy, you still allowed me to get away with or not have to go through. You know what I mean? You think about things you could have been involved in, and it's just like, whew.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely have felt that I'm not worthy, or I'm not, I don't even deserve to stand next to people like you all, like yourselves, educated people. Even though I'm educated myself, but you look at your own sins and be shameful about it. But God still loves us, and that's the only type of unconditional love that really exists. Because people can change and they have the right to, but God never does. And so that's why we're striving to be like Christ. I get it a lot more now as I have time to be with my thoughts. So yeah.
That was good, brother. I want to, I know that was probably a good question. I wonder if do either of y'all want to answer that question?
Well, I think for me personally, I think he kind of always, or at least for me, I personally feel like I've lived the life of, abundance. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily in money, but just blessings, right? You know what I'm saying? And even to this day, right? I think there are things that, and it sounds like Denzel kind of the similar kind of to what you were saying, bro, where it's like I know that every day to day, I'm not always making the right choices, but it just seems like no matter what decisions sometimes that I make, whether they be the best choices or not, God is always constant, right? And the way, whether it be opportunities, whether it be work, whether it be family, right? And the way I was raised, who I have in my life is just, I feel like I've been blessed abundantly. And I struggle, and to this day, I still struggle with the fact that I feel like he was saying, right, kind of that imposter syndrome, where like I don't feel worthy, like why me? Like what am I doing that I deserve, right? All of this love, all of this wealth,
Yeah.
right? And again, not just riches, not money wise, but just spiritually happy, family fulfilled, right? And I think to offset that, right, I try to make sure, which is why I said I try to make sure to do a better job of, reaching out to God and, uh, having those conversations, thanking Him, being appreciative when I'm not there, living day to day, making better choices. Because I also think that, man, knowing that I'm also not living how I'm supposed to every day and I'm
Yeah.
still blessed, imagine what more can happen, right? If I really stay disciplined, right? And I really get in my word, right? And I really, day to day made better choices, how much better life could be, how many more blessings can come. So I think, at least for me, when I do start to feel those doubts of, yeah, I am failing, it's like, well, let me, I've gotten so much in life. I've been blessed with so much. You can change at any point in life, right? To start, saying today is the day that I'm gonna, you know, change and do better and move forward and really start to like you used the word earlier, serve, you know what I'm saying? And really doing a better job of serving in many different ways, kind of like what Dre was talking about earlier, right? It could be something as just checking on a family member. It could be getting into the community. It could be, God just put some on your heart one day at a stoplight to give to somebody else. So whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
right? There are many different ways, and I think there are many different areas and ways that they look.
That's what's up, brother. Okay. Denzel, I did feel it. What's up, man? You wanna give a stab at it?
No, I mean, I can't talk what Jordan said. Jordan hit it on the money. I'm trying to see what Drake talking about.
I agree. I agree with both of you guys. I think for me, when I first noticed and I felt self doubt was when my previous job was taken away from me, and that something like that has never happened during COVID. I was blessed to keep my job through the whole time. I was able to consult my mother and everyone, but they tell you that you truly don't understand the position I'm in, and I never truly understood that until I lost my job. I went home and didn't have nothing. I had self doubt. But the one thing I said, y'all don't have to worry about me. I have my faith. I'm gonna be somewhere great, moving forward.
Yeah.
And since that day, I've been trying to make it a point to make sure I'm reading my scriptures, make sure I'm moving in the right direction. If that's treating my lady right or treating my family members right, friends and any individual I meet on the road, that's that. But I've been really trying to make sure I do the right things moving forward from that day. That day stuck out, and he taught me how to go through interviews, stuff that I didn't even think I can do, a
Yeah.
technical interview. And I was able to, land a good job, thankfully, and I was blessed for it. But yeah, I completely agree with you guys.
Yeah.
And I think to that point, something that I've noticed all of us saying is, and I didn't really dive too much into it personally for me, but that there was a moment, right, where we kind of hit rock bottom, right? You hit that point where, and I think those moments are important, right? And if anybody's listening to this and are either approaching those times or in those moments now, I think, use us as testimonies, because I think each of us have our own individual story of how it took us being at the bottom, right? Being losing a job, being fed up with a job and saying, okay, I need to figure something else, right? Whatever the case may be, being into a position of feeling lonely, feeling to yourself, having to then figure out what's next. And fortunately for us, having the mental ability to realize and fortunately grow up in the church to know that ultimately when you don't know where else to go, there's only one way to go, one person to turn to, right? And that is God. And
One
no
solution.
matter how much he throws at us or the tough moments that we endure, knowing that, ultimately that's what he wants. He wants us to go back to him
Right.
to then be able to start, the process of rebuilding those blocks back up, and not only rebuilding, but be rebuilding within him, so that not only are you, good from the top bottom, right? You're good from the soul, right? This
Yeah.
inward outward, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's all about, right? I think that's where it starts. In a lot of cases, it will be nice to realize and be able to make those decisions right before you get to that point of life that knocks you down and you like, all right, I don't know where else to go, so let me turn to Jesus, right? But sometimes, in many cases, those are the moments that we also need to be in the quietness of being in a home, trying to figure out what's next for him to really, for us to be able to then hear him loudly say and
And
help direct,
force
our
that.
paths in whichever way that is.
Yeah, and he'll force that on you too. He'll position you. You know what I'm saying? If you're not, but he keeps saying go right, and you keep going left. He said, all right, all right,
Take away the left.
I'm gonna close
Funny how
left.
that right turned into a left. It's a cul-de-sac. No, absolutely. I've learned so much about life during this time. So yeah, man, he's oof.
Yeah. All right, brothers. We're gonna jump to the next topic here is balancing faith and career. I think we kind of touched on a lot of that already, so we may breeze through that one a bit. I know we want to jump to relationships in a minute. So, but just here real quickly with balancing faith and career, right? All of my life I always heard, money is the root of all evil. Um, but shows that in my experience, having a little money made me a little happy. I was happy. Could afford whatever I wanted. Y'all know, y'all was my friends. Whatever y'all needed, we could get. Same with my family. But as I matured, and again, when that sit down season came, I was able to self reflect on all of those things and realize that, man, I needed to mature. I needed to grow in my mind. And so it's like, dang, was money truly the root of that evil? And it makes me think of that sometimes. Maybe I wasn't mature enough for it just yet. Maybe God needed to show me some things before I actually am in that position again to have that. And so just curious of what you guys' thoughts are in that regard. With career, are there ways that you navigate the jobs that you take on or the career that you want to go into, or did? I guess we're all pretty much at least 3 to 5 years in deep. So what is your guys, I guess, ways that you sort of navigate staying that positive black man, that man that who stands firmly in his faith when it comes to keeping your job or having your job?
So for me, I work in consulting, and if anybody knows, that's one of the biggest companies that they have big company layoffs every year. And for me, it was about not making my job my God. You should not make your job your God. For me, my faith is strong. Like I should have that in faith. If it's meant for me to leave this job, it's for a reason. And I think that's what makes me much more positive and looking at the positive side of things. Even if things don't go the way that I intend, it's not my decision to do that. That's God's decision.
Yeah.
And for me, that works on me. That works for me every day, no matter what. If I give 100%, as long as I'm giving 100%, and He can see that, and I'm moving in the right direction, that's all that matters.
All that matters.
Yes, sir.
Straight up.
Short, sweet, to the point. I love it.
It's
No, Dre just straight to the point. No, for me, I'm a pivot. I'm reading a book currently about, it's called Failing Forward. And actually today it was asking, what is your definition of failure? Most times we think we're in college, less than a 60, or, is a failing, or not completing a task is failing. But it's really, the book is challenging you to think about, how do you see failure? Really what it boils down to is a decision. You didn't meet your goals. You didn't meet your quota. Kind of like what Dre was saying. You didn't, whatever, but did you give 110%? Did you, with what you had left, maybe you didn't have your reports or things prepared, but what you have, like, did you give your best effort with what God gave you, or what was at your disposal? So ironically for me, in a different light, God had to take me out of my comfort zone, because I am in sales, and sales is brutal. But He had to take me out of my comfort zone and push me to another one. Like, it was so impactful what Dre was saying about not making your job your God. Not that mine was, but I was like, shoot, it's paying the bills. Like, I'm good. It's security, right? And I guess in a sense, maybe it was my God, because that was my sense of security as the average person, And so because of that, going back to what you were saying earlier, Calvin, I wasn't tithing either, because I was doing my own thing, putting money into my cars, and going out to bars or whatever. And so my tithing was a little sketch,
right.
And so it's ironic that I have less now, but more peace, but I get more,
bro.
And so, I kind of like, I think someone said on the call, where like, God will touch you so much. I went across like 3 or 4 lanes to give somebody like $5.
Yeah.
I didn't really have it, but most people, we just drive by, and I myself included. So it's not, but it was just something that God was like, hey, go do this, go bless this person, go touch this person. And so, as far as like balancing my career, like, there are aspirations and goals that I really do have. And it's ironic because Calvin and I talked about a podcast years ago. So to see us kind of on one today is ironic. Just, He works in mysterious ways.
Serious, man.
But one thing I've realized, going back to what the focal point is, God wants us to have our desires. But in those desires, it's what is the heart of a man. When you talked about money, is it, man, I want to spend this because what we're gonna do with it.
Yeah.
Or He know when you get that big job. He know when you move to that luxury apartment, or you move out the country. He already know what you're gonna be on. Yeah. So He puts things in your way to test your faith, to see, like, are you really doing it for me? Or are you doing it for you? And that's the constant daily battle. It's a daily grind, man. You fight with your flesh daily. Yeah. And I think there's a scripture. Well, I told you I didn't read like that, but there's a scripture about putting on the full armor of Christ. That's why for me, I try to make sure I acknowledge Him in the morning, man. Because if I don't, my schedule be off, and then you not be in your right mind. And I realize when I'm not covered, I'm in autopilot.
Yeah.
Dates, tasks, things I was supposed to be doing just don't make sense. And I'm like, wait a minute. But like when I'm in sync, when I'm lockstep and acknowledge Him throughout the day, and I can't even just do it early in the morning, because things don't happen from 8 a.m. to like 12. You know what I mean? So just continuously staying rooted, man, because He will direct your path, your career, your finances, your friend group. I pray for a new friend group. You know what I mean? Some people have come back into the fold. I've had new friends. So like anything, this is beyond careers, what I'm trying to, I guess, illustrate. He kind of directs your path. You want to start a business, He'll bless it. But of course you have to do the groundwork, of course, right? But you just got to keep holding on. It's a daily, like I said, it's a daily grind. Yeah.
Straight up, brother. Straight up. Brother Jordan, you got I'm serious with that. And,
Well, no, I mean, I definitely I feel like everybody kind of just touched on everything,
yeah.
right? I think ultimately for me, I work in broadcast. I was in news for a long time, and I think that came with working, especially in the beginning weekends. And so for me, it was hard to kind of balance or try to figure out how to balance church and career because a lot of times I was working Saturday or working Sunday and Sunday morning, not able to get in or afterwards, right? And so um, I think that's why I made it a point to continue like he was saying right throughout the week, just acknowledge and thankful, having my own worship sessions, whether it be at work, whether it be before work, on the way to work, at home, right, just taking my own moments to have on my own, being intentional about having my own moments, I guess, with God, and whether if I needed help, whether I needed guidance, whether I just
Right.
wanted to say thank you, but having more of those moments and strengthening the relationship between he and I. And I tell everybody, to God be the glory. Nothing I have, I mean,
That's
of course, I put in the work and I've done the work up to this point to get to where I have in my career. But, again, to God be the glory. A lot of things have I've been blessed to be able to do right, to have been blessed to have the right opportunity join at the right moment of my hard work. And I think understanding that I've always been able to, if nothing else, put the glory of God in the forefront of all of that to make sure people know that I'm a product of him and his blessings. And yeah, I'm doing the work, but without him, I'm nothing, and none of this would be possible for real.
straight up, bro. I used to talk about how I used to run so fast in high school. Speed was just crazy. And it wasn't because of me, man. That's all God, man. To be talented like that, man, shucks.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I did have a quick question in regards to that. Then we're gonna jump to relationships. Um, well, never mind. I guess we all basically answered that question. But the question was spiritual discipline or wealth and riches. So for me, of course, again, I think we all have pretty much answered that question. But I think at a certain point in my life, that answer changed for me, or in a certain aspect, right? I would think, as long as I'm living right, as long as I'm, doing what I need to do, repenting whenever I did whatever I did, I'm good. But nah, man, you're truly being intentional about that journey, or being intentional about being the man that God has ordained you to be. You know what I'm saying? Because blessings are ordainings, man. Like he sets it up and he blesses you with it. And I think, now in my life, I'm definitely going to choose spiritual discipline. If it is that opportunity where I do need to say no to something that I feel like would grant me wishes, I I don't have any gray area about even thinking about it.
I would just piggyback and say it just goes back to peace of mind, like Denzel
Yeah.
said earlier, right? You can have all the money in the world, like what's this the verse? What's
What good is it of a man to gain the world if he loses his soul?
Boy, act
and
like
you know what I'm
That's it.
saying?
I just
And I
know the
think
scriptures. I just don't know the chapters
right,
memory verses, man.
or the
and
books. Or the...
I think that's what it all comes down to, though. You know what I'm saying? It's like, listen, you can have all the money and wealth and stuff, but are you happy? Because, you may be happy temporarily, but in the end, right, it never, I'm not gonna say it never works out, but eventually that fades out because uh, it's not true happiness. And when you can get to a place of true happiness, which in many cases is turning back to Him and His Word, following Him, and living the life right that He has envisioned for us, in a lot of ways you get that peace, and that within itself is invaluable, right? That's worth all the riches in the world. And I think, like you said, in the beginning of life, when you're young, you think money and that's what you're aspiring to get, but I think eventually you have to hit that threshold after you hit rock bottom, especially, where it's like, all right, what is life? What do I want? And then in many cases you get to that point of, listen, I just want to be happy, I want to be free. What does that look like? And in many cases, it's being spiritually free, spiritually happy, spiritually full.
No, yeah, I agree. Everything Jordan said was on point. And to be a little bit more controversial, I would say that life's all about perspective. How do you see your situation?
Yeah.
And ironically, I've heard a lot of people say, well, you know, I don't do church. I'm this way. If I'm doing what I'm supposed, I think that's what you were kind of alluding to. But as you correctly stated, Calvin, that's not enough. You know what I mean? Like, God's the type of person. And it's so funny. He's very straightforward. And as much as we as people think that we're straightforward, we're really not. We put a lot of gray areas on everything. And so it's like either you with him or you're against him. And it's kind of hard for people to toy with because we have our own strongholds, or we have our own insecurities, our own fleshly battles. And so it's like, well, God, I'll give you this, but I won't give you that. You know, I'm not done with this yet. You know what I mean? And we, you know, and so I think that depending on how you see your situation or depending on how you see your life, that's basically the space that you operate in. Yeah. And I'm really speaking to myself. I'm not speaking at people. I'm more so speaking about my journey. You know, I like to use the analogy, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Peter that wanted to walk on water. I think it was. And he was like, I like to give the black version of it. Jesus, can I do it? He was like, yeah, come on, bro. He started walking. Everything was cool. The waves started rocking and everything. He took his eyes off of God. And I'm skipping over a lot, but he started to sink. And the moral of the story that I took from it was, if you're following God, your eyes need to always be on God. Going back to what I said about my church hurt. You know, I turned my back on God, or I stayed out of church because I was looking at man like, oh man, how could Calvin do this? Or not that he did anything, but I'm just using him as an example. How could this person do that? How could this person say this if they're a man of God? But it's like, let he who is without, obviously I was a child, but let who is who without sin cast the first stone, which is why God doesn't sees everything kind of the same. Because if we start thinking our sin is better than somebody else's, then that creates division. And what is God all about? Order. So like I said before, God is all about, you know, order, unity, and that's what he calls men to be, which is a lot of, I really feel like not even just black men, they like to put on black men, but a lot of men kind of shy away from marriage because it is the highest form of responsibility and self-discipline. And having went through this journey of fasting, praying, losing it all, and like you said, having perspective of like what Jordan was talking about, what's really important. Like, man, I'm like, yo, I had my life planned out, man. I want to live in a couple condos, you know, I wanted, you know, different cars, material things, what we all want. But ironically, I did achieve some of those things, but it still wasn't fulfilling.
Man.
Yeah, I had the car that I wanted. I had the job that I wanted. I saved almost $100,000 at one point, but it still wasn't enough. I had the clothes. I could buy the clothes I wanted, but it didn't mean anything. And so, you know, now at age 30, you look back and you like, excuse my English, damn, like there's more to life than what I see. There's more to life than what I can touch. You know, there's more to life than what I can feel. You know what I'm saying? And so now where God has brought me now is channeling my emotions, because as Christians, you know, the closer you get to God, the more, let's just be honest, people gonna hate. They gonna, you know, people, it feels like people are intimidating, trying to intimidate or attack you because you walking with purpose, or you're walking in your purpose. You know what I'm saying? So nowadays it's more about controlling my emotions. At the same time, we're still representation of Christ. We're still extensions of it. So it's kind of hard, but you know, it is what it is. But I appreciate everything that has been shared. I agree. I totally agree.
Brother Denzel, I'm gonna go ahead and hit you with it because you did just mention marriage, you know. So we jump into the next topic, right? Building those meaningful relationships, you know, while also trying to be keeping your faith strong and also trying to keep your career going, you know. And sometimes I feel like the one that catches the short end of the stick can sometimes be your relationships.
Oh yes.
Yeah, right. You know, and really in all areas, friendships, family, you know, and for myself, I've experienced that a lot. You know, it seems like if my career or if work is stressing me out, I don't want to talk to nobody. Leave me alone. You know, but if work is going good and I'm happy, or I guess in other words, as I'm saying it, work kind of dictates my mood. You know, and I never really thought. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think I just unhinged something right there. But again, because of that, a lot of times my relationships were affected by that. But in understanding that with my maturity, I started to understand that not every relationship that I had needed to be truly nurtured or watered. And it was because, you know, some didn't lead me in the direction that I needed to go to be the kingdom man that I was looking to be, you know. But then also there's a question again, you know, was I that person that should have helped lead them? You know, did I give,
Good question.
you know, did I give up on that friend, or did I walk away when I should have been walking towards, you know? And so just want to open up there to you brothers, you know, and I guess again, Denzel, you know, go ahead to give us something there, man. And again, you can touch on it in any area, you know, if it's marriage or, you know, girlfriends or uh,
Relationships, man. I will say this: relationships. You kind of started on the precipice of it. Your relationships, whether people accept it or not, are a reflection of you. If you accept it or not, if you got ratchet friends, don't be mad when somebody calls you ratchet. If you have people who are rude, don't be surprised if people associate with you. I mean, it's just,
right.
let's just keep it honest. Let's just be transparent. And so, to your point, I agree. I thought to myself, like, man, like, am I really depositing into people, or are we just hanging out and, excuse my English, bullshitting? Like, are we really,
Yeah.
like now where we're at in life, like we want more out of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
We traveled, seen some things, done some things, you know what I mean? And so it's like, now what? Now the question becomes, now what? And
Yeah.
so kind of, I feel like everyone has the same energy of like, now I'm trying to give back to the people that are around me, like, because I see a lack there, or I see that there is dysfunction there. So specifically with family, I ain't gonna lie, I have to time box my family because I have a big family. I got to time box everyone. I do love my family, but I do try to make it a point to talk to them at least every day, because before I was not good at answering phone calls, because like you said, my work would affect my mood. I'm quick to isolate, and you know that about me. I'm quick to be like, nah, I'm good. But the devil wants to have you disconnected. And the Bible says when two or more are gathered, finish the sentence. So my point is that has allowed me to stimulate better relationships. And as far as my personal relationship, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the grown woman that is my love. She's been impactful and patient, and it's cool to see the spiritual journey that she's been on. What I have learned specifically, I'll let Jordan and Dre talk because I love when they talk as well, is when I got closer to God, I certain things, me and my partner, we've been dating for about 2 years. So we're out of that honeymoon phase where it's like, oh, now it's little habits and stuff. You're like, man, that's kind of annoying. I said that to say things that you want to change hypothetically, not that I really would change anything about my partner, but habits or whatever you want to change in your partner, like that you feel like that may cause friction in your relationship. I think obviously praying, right? But the closer you get to God and you start developing better habits, then they'll be like, you know what, man, Calvin over here doing this. I need to, you know what I mean? Like they just follow. And as men of Christ, that's what God asks us to do. If we're speaking specifically like marriage. Obviously, that's the goal for me. Believe it or not, it wasn't. But once again, God has been doing work on me. And so because of that, seeing how he literally works in real time, you don't even have to say that to no one, but people see the God in you, or people see how he's touched your life. And they're like, man, what Dre been drinking? Or well, who's he been hanging around? Who has Jordan been hanging around? Who has he been talking to? And people just start acting like you, or they start associating with you. And it kind of trickles down to everyone that you're affected or impacted by. And so it warns a relationship is kind of the same. So I've seen the growth and the development. I'm very grateful to be on this journey with her. I would shout her out, but she's shy, whatever. And even with you guys, you know what I'm saying, to have a small group of, or even a mid-sized group of brothers that really believe in the word and stand for what's right and with integrity is everything, because this world is very wicked.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Yeah. For sure, brother.
Denzel, you give such great answers, man. It's kind of hard to add to it, and you leave me no space. But I want to say I've been really intentional on looking at my relationships and taking a deep dive into what they bring and also what I bring to them. And I think that's because God has been really waking me up, especially when you're reading the Word and you understand what's right from wrong. A lot of people some people, and I was one of those people in the past that was moving the wrong way. But as you transition, you start to think like, is this really a relationship that I should be watering? So there were some people that I had to kind of cut off. And to one of the points that you made, Calvin, was to should I water this relationship? For me, you know me personally, and I know the other two folks know me as well. I've always been genuine. I've always been genuine. So I'm going to reach out. I'm going to see if I can maybe navigate you if I see something wrong, because that's what you have friends for.
Right.
You're here to watch over me, to make sure I'm doing right. And I don't want you to be a yes man. I want you to, let me know when I'm doing wrong. So some of those situations I've tried to be that person, but ultimately you have to make a decision. And for me, sometimes that has been hard decisions. But like I said, I've been really intentional about the relationships I keep around me. So now, when we talk, we're talking about, things or topics like we're talking about now.
Yeah. Fruitful.
Fruitful,
Yeah.
fruitful. And even in my relationship, with my lovely lady, and I do plan on marrying. Even with my relationship, I saw myself growing as well, and not just her.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are put into your life to help you grow.
Right.
For me, I was very defensive in my relationship when I first got with my lady. I didn't even really notice it. I didn't notice it at all. I had to think like, well, let me look at her perspective and let me see if there's something that I'm doing wrong. And obviously, like I said, we've been reading the word, and the word the word mentions peace, right? In order for me to create peace, I have to look for peace.
Mm.
And sometimes that's me understanding my partner or my friend, instead of just navigating towards, not being closed off and not really hearing their true intention of that conversation.
Listen.
Um, listening, yeah, listening. So I think that's been my main thing thus far. I think now I really water my relationships. I make sure I call you guys, once a week. I know sometimes I get busy as well, but um what you want we need to be watering our relationships.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've been big on these last few weeks and these last few months.
Yeah. You Dre, just you just touched on that. You do plan to get married, all these other cool things. And that you are in a relationship, that you are in. This is happening. Um, do you feel like there were things as you start to become the man that she would want to marry? You know what I'm saying, or as you are on your journey to become a husband one day? Do you feel like there was certain things that you had to like unlearn and like learn to be the man that you want to be for her, or just for your relationship in general, or for your friends and etc.
Yes. To answer that question, yes. So, me and my lady are the same people. We're the same people. We both have strong personalities. We both want you to hear exactly what we're saying and how we're saying it. And 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 sometimes like that was a wrench in some of our communication in the past. And a lot of the times, I'd be man enough to say it here. A lot of the times that's me. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? That's me doing that. Sometimes it is her, but I'm here to hear your perspective. And if you're my partner, I should be hearing your perspective versus me cutting you off and not really saying your words. So yeah, I feel like I had to unlearn that, being defensive, speaking over someone before they get their thought out, and actually just sitting there and just marinating on what they're actually saying. It's not in my relationship. I'm not against you. We're on the same team, whether
Mm.
that's friendship, whether that's my girlfriend. We're on the same team. So I need to understand where you come from so that we can work through these issues. And when you work through these issues, that has made us a lot closer. And now, I'm looking forward to getting married. I feel
Yeah.
like now that's what that has opened my eyes to see the growth in our relationship.
Yeah.
And now we're moving forward, and now we communicate great. We sit there and we hear each other's perspectives, and that's no longer a big issue. And communication is one of the biggest issues in relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good, brother Jordan. You got any insight for us for
Jordan got a lot of material over there.
He's writing.
Nah, man.
He's
I'm just
sitting on it.
taking it in. I'm probably the one most singlest guy out of all three of us through the years. But I think from my perspective, it's been a while since I've been in a relationship, but I think since I've kind of moved into this adult age, at least mentally, I think for me, it's just understanding, being wanting to be the guy who I feel my wife deserves, right? Whoever she may be. And I think for me, that's, I heard the word, and Dre, intentional, and being intentional many times. And I think for me, that's what it's all about. It's for me building habits that I will want to, be able to pass down to my family, right? My future kids, right? And because ultimately, when that time comes, it's up to us to lead, and it's up to us to at least be able to help guide, our families to that path. And for me, it's just been more so a journey of, trying to discover who I am and then who I am in the Lord. You know what I'm saying? So that whenever I do get married, right, I'm my best self,
Yeah.
spiritually, emotionally, physically, that I can give and be able to continue to serve, right? Because that's what a marriage is. It's a lifelong commitment to serve each other. And uh, for me, that is what my focus has been, just being intentional on who I want to become so that when the time comes, everything else, like you said, those habits that Denzel mentioned earlier, right? All of those are already kind of built into my everyday life.
Yeah, that's good, man. Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on that, man. That's again for me. I'm focusing real hard on that. I think I heard somebody say a long time ago, like, I want to start being a husband before I am one, or start learning how to be a husband before I am one. And that's real big for me. I'm every day self analyzing myself. Is just something that a wife would appreciate, or is just something that a wife will want out of her husband, or the areas where I do feel a little weak or less strong. I'm working hard to tighten that up. I don't want to have an area where I'm not meeting the standard that I've set for what a man needs to be for this relationship. And I think you guys have said that it's not necessarily the standard that the woman sets. We are setting that. And I think that's a very, very important thing for men to know these days, that you have to set that. You know what I'm saying? Your standard is set by you, not your wife. So, and as long as we are intentionally ourselves going hard to be that person, like you said, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. All right, so guys, this was a great, great episode. It is now 7:57. So we're getting close to the closing point of this podcast, man. And again, this was very, very good. All of y'all brothers here, man. I love y'all. And all of the words and everything. This is something we do all the time. So I'm not gonna say I'm surprised that y'all came with the heat like y'all did. We do this, man. And again, these are true brothers of my flock, and we all are, in no way we're experts. We are all here eager to grow in our journey and also learn in our journey. So, hopefully this inspired some of the youngins out there to keep going in their journey. Hopefully it validated some in their journey, but also for the wiser brothers and sisters on this call, now you hopefully this showed you some of the importance of that. Us young brothers are aiming to be better men. We are aiming to be those men that we are idling or seeing grow in the world, and we are looking for that education so that we can be those superior men. So it's now 7:57 or 7:59. I'm gonna go ahead and close it up again. Thank you all for tuning in to Touching You Talk Show. It's a great episode, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon. Peace out, everybody.